Dean Legge and Dylan Webber here again in New Orleans. Dylan, Georgia's last open practice of the year, actually. You've seen a lot of those.
Yeah, I've been quite a bit. It's a little sad. You know, it's sad to get your last 15 minutes in until March, late March.
That's true. Last 15 minutes that we see, they'll practice again tomorrow, I think, at the Saints facility.
I believe so.
What did you learn? What did you learn today watching, listening to Texas and all of their guys?
They're just happy to be here. I feel like
is that bad to say?
No, it sounds a little cliche, but they all just seem genuinely happy talking to the media today. Georgia is always a little more businesslike at the stuff like this, but Texas just seemed happy to be here. And Andrew Beck, the tight end, talked a little bit about that in his decision to return this year, and he said this is just icing on the cake for this season. That they're just excited with the success that they've had, and glad to finish it off here.
In talking to the Georgia kids, the best guy to always talk to, almost always, is Ledbetter. And he was very good again today, talking about how Kirby can't dance and how Kirby's his friend. And he said the thing about, and he's right, that the four best teams were not in the playoff. But the main discussion, though, was how are these new defensive backs without DeAndre going to perform? To some degree, it's the only thing we have to talk about because we've already talked about Justin Fields to death. Justin Fields' play in this game will likely not win or lose this ball game for the Dogs. But, the defense does have to play half the snaps or at least a solid amount of them. How are they going to deal with this, and what impression did you get from that today?
I mean, it is that next man up mentality, and once again, that is just – it sounds like what they're just going to say in a case like this, but it is true. They can't change that. And, of course, it means more that they're missing, a surefire top 15 first-round NFL draft pick.
Well, the best college corner this year.
And possibly in Georgia's history.
Well, Champ Bailey was really, really good.
Yeah, I know. But so that is a huge loss, especially going up against guys like Lil Jordan Humphrey, Colin Johnson. That's tough, but they can't change their mindset now and do something different. They have to keep with this mentality that has built this program of next guy's got to step up, and that next guy is Tyson Campbell.
Yeah, and Tyson began the season as the starter, got picked on a fair amount during the loss to LSU, and then that was bad. And then you saw the kid from Rockdale, Eric Stokes came in and played quite a bit. There's no shortage of DBs in this program, and they're just going to have to play well.
Mm-hmm. And Tyreek McGee talked a little bit about it, and he said, it doesn't matter how well Tyson played earlier this year, but that experience is what's
I agree.
And it is going to help. Yeah, he did get picked on. He had a rough start to the season that ended up costing him his starting job. But to have those first, he started 9 games?
Yeah, it was 8 or 9 games.
Yeah. And that is huge for this game. And it is going to be a tough task, maybe his toughest task yet. But that experience will help him very much in this game.
So we still have a few more days left before this game. I'm starting to wonder if we're falling into the trap that we do with Georgia Tech, which is that, Georgia's offense gets to go out on the field too. Texas has got to stop them. Yeah,
and you look at the offensive line and how they did against Alabama. Yeah. That's something that no one has really mentioned. they moved Alabama at will.
Well, we'll see what OU does tonight. We're recording this as Clemson and Notre Dame are playing. Oklahoma will score, you would think, but Georgia did it in a way that was just punch you in the nose football.
It was how Kirby likes to play football. Is they're going to run and they're going to take the will out of you to play defense. And that's something that you don't see much when people play against Alabama. You don't see them run downhill as hard as Georgia did. And
that's the challenge for anyone playing Alabama will be defeating them at their – either you have to play a ball game that's completely different against Alabama, or you have to beat them at their own game. Georgia's one of the few teams in the country that actually can beat them at their own – well, it can certainly play them to the last minute in their own game, or last seconds. But with Oklahoma and or Clemson, perhaps Notre Dame, they're not going to be able to play that kind of football. But that's another story for another day. Tomorrow we'll get Jake Fromm, DeAndre, Andrew Thomas, Elijah,
and Terry Godwin.
So the firepower comes out tomorrow for the Dogs. Again, Texas has got to stop Georgia. Texas has played a ton of close games.
almost every single one.
Yeah, including Tulsa, Oklahoma twice. The Maryland game was close that they lost.
Yeah, they lost in the last seconds of that one.
And the Oklahoma State game was like almost every game they played has been close. Georgia, not so much.
Yeah, I think Texas's biggest win was against USC, and that was a close game up until midway through the third quarter.
You know, I've watched UT a lot because of you being around. They're good. It's hard for me to see them running around with Georgia for 4 quarters. That's my. I'm just starting to become skeptical because I sat there and watched Georgia's offensive line practice the whole day today.
I mean, it is going to be tough because Texas's run game is not nearly as established as a lot of the teams Georgia has played this year, and you have to be able to run the football against Georgia if you want to keep up with them. It's going to be really difficult if you can't.
Well, and today also sort of things become more and more in focus. What the Gators did to Michigan, that was bad. And I know that they had guys out, but I mean Georgia handled Florida pretty solidly.
That was bad. I don't know. I picked Michigan in that game, and
that's shameful.
Harbaugh gets me to believe. I don't know why. 3 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know why either. But then you look at South Carolina just laying an egg. But that's not necessarily surprising. I mean, I think we're firming up more and more what we know. I mean, we're running out of games to do it with. But, I mean, if LSU and Georgia win and handle business and Alabama wins their next 2 games, that will solidify the SEC talk. We're a long way from that. But after Florida today, that was a solid whipping of what we were supposed to believe was a good team. Michigan was number 7. I mean, we wouldn't hear. I mean, Joey Galloway would not shut up about Michigan, and the College Football Playoff Committee said they were number 1 defense in the country, and the Gators ran all over them.
Yeah, they killed. What was the final score of that game?
41-2. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it was bad.
That was rough to watch, and. I mean, Felipe Franks he has improved.
He was perfectly adequate, and
that's enough. That's enough to get him to there.
I just, Texas got a long, challenging situation here, and we'll see. I mean, I think that we're talking for sure about DeAndre being out, and we're talking about all these other things. DeAndre is 1 of 22 starters.
Yeah, I mean. Albeit the only one who won a national award. He
is, but the sum of the parts are what matters at Georgia now more than ever, and I think that that's the thing that Texas will have to deal with. And we've rattled on pretty long here, but that was my takeaway today. Tomorrow we'll get Georgia's offense and UT's defense, and then the next day we'll get Kirby, and the next day they'll actually play this game. I think it kicks around midnight, right?
Way too late.
All right. Legge and Dylan Webber wrapping up for Dog Posts. Go check out the site right now. Click on the link below, and we appreciate y'all watching.